This video was made possible by EA Game Changers. So guys, last week I was lucky enough to be at DICE in Stockholm and I got to check out some of the brand new weapons coming to Battlefield 5 in the upcoming War in the Pacific DLC. And this one really surprised me, the Japanese Type 100. Why is it so good? Well guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's find out. Alright, so to kick off, the Type 100 seems like it should be an iconic weapon, right? I mean, it's always in World War II video games, but interestingly enough, compared to some of the other guns in World War II, it would have been pretty rare to see this one out in the field. Japan didn't start introducing SMGs into their military forces until the 1920s, and they didn't start producing their own until the late 1930s. And the Type 100 didn't come around until 1939, and by the end of the war, only about 8,500 of them had actually been produced. Now, the main reason the Japanese never actually produced that many was because their infantry doctrine preferred the use of light machine guns instead, like the Type 99 LMG. And so a lot of the early war examples ended up being issued to specialty units like, for example, paratroopers, some of which even featured folding stocks. Later on in the war, though, the Japanese built a bunch more, but at a much lower standard of quality, as time and resources to produce weapons were starting to run out. And realistically, an SMG was one of the easier weapons to produce on the cheap. They didn't have to be all that accurate to begin with, so near enough was basically good enough. Now, as for its in-game stats, well, believe it or not, it's actually pretty respectable with a decent 720 RPM rate of fire and a 30-round magazine as standard. And look, it's still an SMG, so it is going to take a ton of shots to kill people at longer ranges, but unlike a lot of the other guns in this category, the recoil isn't too bad, and you can actually get that done. Also, and I wouldn't recommend it, but if you do really want to try and take out really long-range targets, well, it's even got a bipod to make that a little bit easier. And obviously, being an SMG, it's naturally pretty decent in hipfire as well. Not the best, but still more than usable out to fairly decent ranges, as you'll see in some of these clips. So in saying that, really the best thing about this gun is that even though it's not really great at anything in particular, it's actually half decent at just about everything. And that's one thing that SMGs kind of have an issue with. That's why most people run around with SMGs like the ZK, or they just don't bother and play with assault rifles instead. 720 RPM isn't really that fast, and a 30-round mag isn't that amazing, but it's better than average, and that's all that really matters. You won't be able to get every kill, but you'll find that your KD will be higher on average, or at least I found that for the few hours that I got to play with this gun last week. Now, as for specializations, well, this is probably one of the few weapons in this game where you can kind of do whatever you want, but in saying that though, I think I'd still probably prefer to choose some of the hipfire options over on the left-hand side, because not having the ADS is just so important to getting a lot of close-range kills. On the other hand, though, I can totally see why you might want to go down the right-hand side and aim for all those long-range aim-down sights options. It kind of makes it a little bit closer to being an assault rifle, and all-round weapons like that, I think, are the kind of guns the medic class desperately needs at the moment. But anyway, just to finish up, I definitely would recommend giving this one a try. I know it's not one that I thought would be good, but it did really surprise me. And it was also kind of surprising how well it ended up doing on these new maps as well. Both of them are pretty big, and this still felt like a decent choice. I actually started the play session using the Garand, thinking it'd be perfect for long-range sightlines, but believe it or not, this ended up being 1,000 times better, because in 64-player modes, someone always sneaks up on you and you get absolutely destroyed if you can't hold your own in CQB, and this can, up against just about everything. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And just remember, I've got a ton of footage from last week that I really want to show you guys. So if you want to see more Pacific footage, then make sure you stay tuned to this channel. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget, you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.